So Dorota, welcome to the Heart Warsaw. We're excited to have you here. D-RAFT has launched just a fintech program that you're leading. Will it be another accelerator for early stage startups? Can you tell us more?
Of course, yeah. First of all, we're extremely excited. We've launched today. And yeah, there are a lot of accelerators, a lot of incubators, but what we've noticed is the opportunity for more advanced companies like scale-ups to join our program. So we are actually focusing on needs of corporations, which are usually more dedicated already solutions that they're looking for. So we are focusing on different segments than just early stage startups.
And when we think of startups, specifically fintech startups, we think of challenger banks. Don't they all want to just challenge and disrupt traditional banking, or is there any space for collaboration?
Oh, of course, there is a space for collaboration. It all started with that hype of disruption, because all those, if you think the challenger banks and other fintech companies, they started from the need of customers, but also from some level of frustration with a crisis of 2008 or even before. That's how it all started. So there was a need. There wasn't a solution for a need. Customers were frustrated. They were losing trust towards the institutions, and that's how the ecosystem was established. So, so obviously they initially thought about disrupting the industry, doing something totally different, so that we don't repeat the same situation. But over a period of time, you can notice that the strategies of disruption are slowly evolving towards enabling some solutions and cooperating with banks and with other financial institutions on how to use those solutions to improve the customer experience, but not necessarily to bring the whole banking ecosystem down.
You live in London and you have an overview of what's happening in the UK, but also the European startup ecosystem. Can you give some examples of such collaboration of banks or financial institutions with startups?
Yes, of course. So when you think about this collaboration, is the question first: what are the needs, and how this cooperation comes together? So one of the idea could be, which is not actually from UK, but quite interesting. DBS, the bank, well-known Singaporean bank, has launched the first digital bank in India. Mobile only, and their solution is built based on the ecosystem of fintech companies providing different functionalities. Like VK is providing security element, for example. So there are companies that are looking at, for example, lending offer, banks that need the lending offer, and Kabbage will be the natural first a company that comes to my mind that works with lots of banks on providing the micro lending for SME segment. Market Invoice, it's another idea that many banks are already leveraging in terms of processing invoices, etc. So it starts with need, and then the model of cooperation kind of follows from there.
Mm-hmm. And we see increasingly banks and financial institutions joining startup events and dating startups, flirting with them somehow. Do you think they're ready internally to actually partner with those? And if not, being a banker yourself in your background, what are the things that banks need to work on to open up to startups?
Yes, so even that process of speed dating, flirting, etc., is already part of transferring the culture, because being in that ecosystem, if you are around those people, it's natural that you get ideas, energy, and everything, and you transfer this back, and you're coming with all that enthusiasm of that new different world. Like, look what's out there. Let's come closer, because our customers are already there as well. So I think that's the first step. But obviously, looking at companies, it differs company by company. But the challenges that are most common mentioned are definitely the culture clash, the governance clash, if you like, because startups will be more nimble, more risk takers, while in a corporate environment you have all those already procedures in place which you need to adapt. So I give you one example. when the startup wants to work with the corporation, they usually are asked for having the insurance in place. In the UK, for example, the insurance can be really, really expensive. So startups won't be ready necessarily immediately to have such a insurance. But if the bank doesn't change the procedure, they will, per procedure today, they require the insurance, and that's already the challenge that you need to solve between incorporation. So there are challenges. There are challenges with shortage of talent as well, because and it's on several levels. The people didn't do this before, so they don't know how to do it. But also there's a lot of shift, and people are leaving. Most of the challenger banks, if you look at them, they are actually established by ex-bankers who left banks, and they decided that they are, for example, frustrated with the long times to implement something through IT because of lots of other priorities, but they knew how they want the bank to look like. So out of this frustration, and with some money that was in their hands, they just left and set up challenger banks. So these are the challenges that are there, but they can be overcome, obviously. And lots of initiatives are happening. Even the fact that corporate clients are asked to put mentors forward to help working with startups, it's also an idea to bring the innovation and the mentality of a startup, and culture of startup back to the organization. That's just one example how they do it.
So we are seeing banks opening up for innovation individually, which is a challenge by itself, but do you see the potential for actually bank joining forces in the innovation efforts, like it is the case in the D-RAFT's fintech program?
Yes, of course, and it's again, some startups can provide the competitive advantage, and in that case, it's individual cooperation, but some other will definitely some trends are demanding in a way also cooperation. Just look at the blockchain. It's one of the examples where the consortium is bringing actually lots of corporations together, banks and insurance companies and so on, because that ecosystem is required. So it depends again on what's problem being solved, but I can see a lot of examples where cooperation is actually what's needed. In cybersecurity space, which our program was kicked off with cybersecurity today, it's one of this area where the hackers and all those who are on the dark side, if you like, they're cooperating, they're learning from each other, and they are joining forces for achieving some progress. The same needs to happen on the bank side. There needs to be exchange of the information and the cooperation with customers. So we shouldn't just stay, behind the closed doors, but we need to also let customers know what's happening, because that's the ecosystem how they can prevent. All of us can prevent, for example, cybercrime.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned some topics like cybersecurity. Can you let us know more about the areas you'll be looking for on behalf of the banks?
Yes. So as the program is directed for banks, we are looking at the 4 hottest topics, which I believe are now in the banking environment. We started with cybersecurity because we see this is a foundation for the other topics that we will continue with. We will follow by PSD2, by big data, and by blockchain. Okay, and
can anyone interested still join?
Oh yes, we started already, so obviously we would have to bring them up to speed. But yes, there is an opportunity to join, especially if we start the next sessions. So we welcome everybody who would like to learn more and would like to join us.
Okay, great. Well, later this year, to sum it up, we're launching officially the hardware. So
I can't wait.
And can you let us know more, seeing the vibrant scene of London and similar spaces, can you tell us from your experience on the role of such spaces for connecting the worlds?
Yes, so as you said, it seems like there's a lot of places already, so the question is, one, why yet another place? But at the same time, there's the need is huge. The need is huge, and what I see is the power of these places cooperate together. So it's not yet another competitive center. It's more like giving opportunity for more and more parties of the ecosystem to join together. So I absolutely envision us working very closely with all those centers, whether this will be in London, and you can mention Level 39 as an example, or the Floor in Israel, or similar initiatives in Berlin, Zurich, or Singapore, and so on. We definitely would like to see this as a part of the ecosystem, but there is so much opportunity in this part of the world as well, that I think that the heart is a perfect response to the need.
Do you see, especially after Brexit, a potential for Poland and Central Europe to become an innovation sandbox for big corporations?
Yes, thank you for this question, because that was one of the definite answers. I would say, yeah, I'm there in the center of Brexit happening, and it's still a lot of uncertainty, but that shows also because it has big impact on banks, but also on startups, etc. What will happen next, and how it all will continue. So obviously banks are already, and not only, but are already looking for some alternatives and looking what's next. And I can see, and absolutely, we have enough benefits, I think, for those companies to consider also coming to Poland. If you look at the education level, if you look at the common languages being used here, if you look at the quality of coders and access to the talent pool in Poland, interconnection with all parts of the world, in time zones and so on and so forth. There's a lot of elements, right? A lot of elements, a big market as Poland is itself, that can be very good test environment for some solutions to be spin-off for later in other countries. Honestly, there's so many opportunities and benefits that I think it would be very reasonable for any company that is looking for some alternatives, or even just an addition, to look at this part of the world.
Okay, lovely. Last question. I know you love to dance. Any tips for startups that would like to dance with big corporations?
Yes, I do love dancing, and one of the most important things I've learned through dancing is that without a partnership it won't work. So obviously you need to give a space. So you can set some frames in terms of music, in terms of the character of the dance, but each party needs to have the space and in that space give the best qualities. This is the only way that the dance will flow. If one person will pull the other all the directions on the dance floor, it will never be called dance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.